what's up everybody? It's Amaya. So today I'm going to be doing a top 5 and bottom 5 on palettes. 5 best, 5 worst, whatever you want to call it. I did one of these about mascaras about 2 weeks ago. So I figured let's do one about palettes because I feel like I'm always wondering what people's favorite palettes are, but also what their least favorite palettes are because we hear so many favorites and I feel like sometimes I want to be like, okay, that's great, but what don't you like? You know what I mean? And these aren't products that I hate. They're products that I just don't necessarily think would be a worthy buy. Even if they're cheap, I'd say save your money. Okay, so let's start out with the best, and then we'll go to the worst. So the first palette I have for the best is the Maybelline City Mini Palette times Shayla. So this palette you can buy at the drugstore and it is so good. It's such a good palette. This is my first one of the City Mini palettes and it's just absolutely amazing. You have pretty much everything in here. You have a nice base shade. You have this really pretty reddish brown, this black, and you have 3 shimmers. One's like a copper, one's like a lighter yellowy gold, and then this one's like a burgundy. Absolutely stunning. The only thing missing in here is like a transition shade, but you could use a bronzer or something like that if you wanted to just kind of work out of one palette. I think this is so easy for a really fast, dramatic eye look. If you're, say, traveling or on the go, you can just kind of pop this in your bag and you are good to go because you have all of your deeper, smokier shades, which are sometimes missing from essential palettes. So if you have a bronzer that you can use as a transition shade, you're set. All you need is this palette and that. I think it's really, really great and the quality is gorgeous. The second one I have is this palette right here. This is the Pure Soiree Diaries. And first of all, can we just talk about the packaging? It's absolutely stunning. It's like marble and then rose gold. It says Soiree Diaries and then Pure right here with this rose gold band. Absolutely stunning packaging. And then this is what it looks like inside. So the reason I love this palette is it has all mattes and then 4 shimmers, which I really like when a palette has more mattes than shimmers. I just feel like mattes are more versatile than shimmers, but that's just my opinion. You also do get a mirror in here, which is really nice. But the quality of these shadows are so beautiful. They blend so well and they're super creamy and you can really create many different kinds of looks with this. I like that you have a peachy sort of cream shade and a yellowy cream shade. I'll either mix them together or use one or the other. I think that's really, really essential. So you have a really warm peachy transition shade and then you have more of a cool transition shade, which I think is just awesome. There's so many different looks you can do with this and the shimmers are stunning. So I think this is really underrated as well. I've heard nobody talk about this. It's awesome though. Next, of course, is the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette. I know hearing about this palette is probably making you guys want to bang your head against the wall right now, but I just can't talk about it enough because it is so good. Again, you have a really nice base white shade, which is really, really something that I love in a palette. You also have some nice transition shades. You also have a cool tone shade. And you have these reddish purples, which I think is what really makes this palette so unique and makes it stand out from the crowd. Because you have so many warm palettes that have your oranges and your reds, but you don't really have so many that have like these like purpley cranberry shades. It's just so, so good. These shadows blend so beautifully. You also do get a mirror in here and it does come with a brush. The packaging is so pretty and honestly I find myself reaching for this palette when I'm doing dramatic looks, when I'm doing everyday looks. It's just so versatile and I love it. So I could not do this video without talking about the Jaclyn Hill Favorites palette. I know, you guys, I'm sorry, but this palette is one of the best palettes to ever hit the market. You just get so many shades with so many variations. You could very easily buy this palette and then only need like 1 or 2 more palettes, if that, if you wanted them. Like honestly, this has so many great shades in it. It kind of covers it all, especially for someone who isn't doing like crazy like purple, pink, or really bright colored looks. This is perfect because you do have some cool fun colors over here, which are fun to play with, but then you have mostly neutrals and warms, which are just so easy to work with. And they're just so creamy and buttery. The shimmers in here are gorgeous. You also get 2 different lighter shades. These ones are not matte, they are shimmer, but still. The only thing I don't like about this palette is it doesn't have a matte white, which really bugs me because I always use a matte white in my looks no matter what, but it's easy enough to just use setting powder or pull out another palette and use that, or just pull out a single shadow. It's easy enough. It's not that big of a deal, especially because every other thing in this palette is perfect. That's the only thing. It also doesn't have a mirror, and people have complained about the packaging, but if you go to Ulta, you can get the new packaging. It's online. The new packaging is shiny, so it is more wipeable, although you can wipe this. I don't know, people are crazy. But anyways, I just think this is such a good palette and it's a great price point. And then last but not least, in the top 5 category, we have the Morphe 350. I know, again, this palette is like beating a dead horse, but honestly, if you are someone who just wants to get into warm tones, or you just want a really good everyday palette that you can really have and be set, this is it, you guys. Honestly, like, again, you have 2 very light base shades right there. You have so many transitions, so many warm shades, so many deepening shades, and some beautiful shimmers. I would say this one over the 3502, only because the 3502 doesn't have those matte white shades like I like, and I just feel like the color scheme is a little bit more vibrant than this is, which is great, but if you're someone who's looking for a more versatile palette, I would say this is it. I think that more people can use this palette and get away with it, and it's more user friendly as opposed to the 3502. That one's still beautiful, but this one will always be my favorite, especially this shade right here. It's just so gorgeous, and I love that you do have these kind of pops of color right here that you can really use to brighten up a look, but you can also stay very neutral and very basic. Now on to the bottom 5 section of this video, which I don't like to talk negative about products, but sometimes it's not so much negative as just saving you money, and that's a positive. Okay, so the first palette I want to mention is the Essence All About Nudes palette. This is the one in 02 Nude. This palette, oh my god, Jamie Page raved about these so much, and I typically love like almost all of her recommendations. I trust her. I think she's really, really great. But honestly, you guys, this palette is nothing special, and I don't even really want to buy this even though it's super cheap. You know, I've used it a few times. I definitely have used it, and I definitely have tried it out, and I've used it on my sisters before when they want something really natural. But the thing about this palette is it doesn't even blend that well. Like, the shadows are very light, which is okay. I don't mind that. I don't mind something being buildable. If you're gonna be a light buildable palette, then you need to be buildable. This, I feel like the more you build them, they get kind of patchy. They start to kind of tug at the eye. Even the couple bucks that this is not worth it, which I was really sad about because the colors are beautiful, and again, the price point is amazing. I don't know how the other ones are, but as far as this one goes, I'm not a fan. Next, we have the Real Her 1 Shadow Palette, Be Your Own Kind of Beauty. Got this in a boxy charm, and when I tried it out, I wasn't crazy about it, but honestly, I have not used it since that video, and the reason is, while the look was pretty that I did, it was kind of dull. The colors just kind of blended together. They're really stunning nude shades, which you would think would be beautiful, but honestly, it's just not for me. It worked really well, and it did its job, but it left something to be desired. I don't know. It has a gorgeous mirror in here, which that's a plus, but I just feel like for the price that it is, and for the pigmentation that it has and everything, I would pass on it. Next, we have the Meet Matte Nude palette. Now, this isn't a bad palette. That's not what I'm saying. I definitely do use this, and like I just used it the other day. But here's the thing. The shadows are just a little bit dry, and they're a little bit, I don't know how to say this. I don't want to say too cool toned, because that's not it. There's definitely some like more warmish shades in here, like this one. You obviously have a yellow in there, so they're not too cool toned, but I just feel like they look kind of muddy when you combined a lot of them together. If you just use a few shadows, it's good, but if you try to use all of them for a look, it kind of starts to blend together and look muddy. I like using this as a companion palette with other palettes. Like if I have a warm look but I want to add in some more cool tone shades, I'll use this and it works great. They're not amazing shadows. I do like that, again, you get a mirror in here, but I just think for the price that it is, I don't think that you need to run out and buy this. It's not bad, but it's not great, and therefore I would just say save your money. So next is a really kind of sad palette to talk about, and it's the Lorac Gold palette. I got this like 2 years ago for my birthday, and I had been dreaming about this palette for like a year at that point. I just have an issue with this palette. The issue that I have is that these two shades right here are almost exactly the same. The second issue I have is that these shimmers swatch beautifully, but I want them to look like that on my eye and they don't. I don't know what it is with these shadows because they swatch gorgeously. They don't look like that on your eye and it makes me so mad. Like, I still definitely have used this palette. Like, I have made dents in some of these shadows and it's definitely a good palette. I still use it, but I would just say save your money. There are way more affordable palettes out there that have these same colors. These colors aren't anything special. They're very common colors. You can get this same look with lots of other palettes or single eyeshadows. It's just nothing so special that I feel like you need to run out and buy it. It's not horrible. I don't hate it. There's just some things about it that frustrate me. I just don't think it's worth the money. And the last palette I have to talk about is this guy right here. This is the Naked Smoky palette by Urban Decay. And again, I don't hate this palette. The only thing is, all of these shades are so cool toned that it's so hard to do a look that's not a literal smoky eye. Like, I know it's the smoky palette, but sometimes I want to have some nice cool tone smoky shades but still be able to do something other than a gunmetal eye. You know what I mean? You have a gold in here, you have this really nice light color over here, you have okay transition shades. I don't know. I just feel like this palette for me makes me kind of like, I don't know. I wanted to do a tutorial with it so bad, and no look that I did made me happy enough to do a tutorial with. I have used it before. It's good. It's just not amazing, and therefore I don't think you need to spend the amount of money for this palette because the shadows definitely aren't anything special. They can be kind of choppy, to be totally honest with you, and I don't love it. I would say save your money. So that is it for this video, you guys. That's all the palettes. I hope you guys liked it. Please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know what your top 5 and bottom 5 palettes are in the comments below, and I will see you in my next video. Mwah! Bye. It's delicious.